So that leads to the bigger question we're going to get to, which is, one, should the rule be changed as far as allowing to lower the age, allowing kids out of high school to go straight to the NBA? And what should the rule be as far as, whatever, with college and the options? And then once they get there, because the main reason Zion's has the option to not play is because he currently, Bill's going to debate this, but for lack of more explanation, he currently makes $0 in his personal bank account. So
$0.
Said the guy who said he wouldn't go to Kansas because they wouldn't pay him he didn't get paid to go to Duke.
So anyways, he isn't publicly and legitly getting dollars in his bank account.
Unless he's stupid, because that's obviously against the rules.
To go to Duke.
What were you going to say?
So should college athletes,
no,
amateur athletes, be compensated? And if so, how? What's the best way to do it? So, Bill, let's let you lead it off.
My argument is
so let's answer them succinctly first. The first one is NBA. What do you think the rule should be as far as dealing with high school kids that want to eventually make it to the NBA?
Eventually, or one and dones?
I'm 18 years old. I just graduated high school. What's the rule? Can I go pro? Do I have to go to college? What are my options according to you? How do you think it should be?
You can go pro all you want. If nobody wants you, you're asked to go to college. That's why I think it doesn't matter.
If
you're talking about one and dones.
If you go to college, can you leave after any amount of years? So, let's say I'm 18. No one in the draft wants me. I go play at U of A. Can I leave after 1 year at U of A and potentially be the new age one and done?
So you're saying with no agent, you enter the draft, no one wants you, you go to college.
Correct. And I play 1 year. My first freshman year is over. Can I go pro? Can I try to go pro again?
I'm fine with that.
I'd agree with that. I think if you can go out and get a job anywhere in the world for anybody that wants to employ you at 18, why shouldn't you do the same thing, athletically, for any league? Now, again, like Bill said, every team has the right to say, you're not good enough to play for us, or whatever the case may be, that we don't want you. But that's their decision, and then, you can... I wouldn't necessarily... So I don't know if you meant it that way, or, if you don't get drafted, you have to go to college, or can you go explore another route? Can you go to the G League, or can you go to Europe, or whatever?
I'm fine with that, but G League would still imply NBA, in which case, if they don't think you're good enough...
True.
Then you're not... It doesn't matter what you want. If they don't want you, you're not going.
Right.
So that's true. I agree with you guys. I think leaving high school, you should be able to go pro if you think you're going to go pro. And I'm fine. For a long time, I thought that they should do the college baseball rule, which is if you go play college, you have to stay 3 years. I think 3 for basketball is a little different just because there's less players. So a lot of those people are going to end up playing their first year anyways. I think if they do that, though, where you can go out after your freshman year, the NBA needs to figure out a way where kids can enter the draft, essentially where everyone enters the draft without an agent. At least people that aren't projected to be lottery picks. Those people are going to get drafted. They're not falling out of 2 rounds of draft picks.
Right.
But there needs to be, and I think they fixed it here recently, where you can basically go for the draft without an agent. That there needs to be more of that. That way you can go in. If you don't get drafted, then you can go back to school. The only problem with that, and this is where there's arguments both ways, is it kind of puts the university that the kid was at in a bind. Because if you go pro and then you don't get drafted and they recruited a spot for you and then you got to come back, they're going to either lose that recruit, or if you end up going pro and they don't think, they thought you were going to come back and then you don't and they didn't recruit a spot for you, then they kind of get screwed. So it's kind of a bind both ways that way.
So on that particular point, I would argue that if you elect to go pro, you don't get drafted, you come back to school, you've lost your spot. Just like at any regular employer, if you left your job right now, for 8 weeks to prep for some other job, you didn't get it, you came back, but they hired somebody else to take your spot. You don't just get to come back and usurp them. You're like, no, bitch, this is my job. Wrong. You left. You had a place. We had a spot for you. You left it.
Yeah.
So that's fine. You can come back, but you're going to get the reserve minutes, barring some injury or something like that. So
a lot of times, though, I don't think that'll be an issue because there's probably a good chance that kid is more than likely going to be better than the freshman only because they've had a season of
More than
college
likely,
basketball.
yeah.
So the only issue,
or they can transfer.
Yeah, the only issue I'd have with the G League is that there's not really like a.
No one cares.
Like, is there a draft for the G League right now? Because like what I'm afraid of is like, let's say you're the 60. What's there? 30 NBA teams. 32.
There's 32.
I think there's 30. I think it's like.
I'm scared of saying 32 because
I think it's 3
I
divisions
know
of
it's
5.
NFL. Yeah.
And each
30 or
conference.
32, regardless.
Regardless. So let's say you're the 61st best player. So you're like the best player that didn't get drafted. How do you like? Is it a bidding war in the G League, like to sign this kid? Like how do you know what I mean? Like if he doesn't want, so I don't know. That would be something they would have to figure out too. But
Which goes to show no one cares about the G League.
I think the one and done rule is dumb. Just let Zion shouldn't be playing. Ayton shouldn't have been playing in college.
Like if they go pro, well, that's fine.
If a team wants to draft them, then they want to draft them. And I mean, like LeBron in college would have been stupid.
Yeah.
Kobe in college would have been stupid. Like they just would have been dominating, and it's just. Plus, you know, again, it's only 1 year, but that's one more year where you make, you know, millions of dollars.
Right.
So it gives you, and essentially, if you think about it, it gives you one more year in your prime in the NBA because you develop in college, but there's still a learning curve of the NBA. Like you're gonna develop a lot faster just being in the NBA just automatically.
Right.
So.
Okay. So then, what was this? Next
so the other part is, so they go, so like Bill said, they don't go pro, they go to college. At that point, you're assuming that like the Zions, the RJ Barretts, the LeBrons, the Kobes, the DeAndre Aytons, that they have not gone to college and they've gone pro to make their money. So you're assuming that there's still going to be good recruits that go
to the schools.
Maybe the top 15 high school kids maybe go pro between the first 2 rounds if you really want to play G League. But I think a lot of kids at the end of the day would rather go Duke than play in the G League. I would. I'd rather play at UVA or Duke than the G League, but at least you have the option. But like, you know, so like with the top, RJ Barrett and Zion probably would have gone pro. Right. So I think every year you can probably say, obviously depending on how good the class is, that 5 to 10 high school kids are probably going to try to go the NBA route. So you're still going to have good high school prospects.
I'd say probably less than that will actually make it too.
Probably.
Agreed more with the 5 than the 10.
So you're going to have still very good high school prospects going to college. Correct me if I'm wrong. You still believe that what is essentially not just the free education, it's free education, it's all the clothing that they get, the shoes, everything, basically everything that goes along with it. The Beats by Dre headphones that everyone seems to have now.
But they don't get paid.
They get the national exposure on TV, basically, especially if you go to Duke. I mean, you're on ESPN every fucking night. They literally have a documentary on ESPN Plus about their fucking practices. Like, so is that still enough when you give them the option to go to the pro, basically saying like, hey, if you want to get money, you should have gone to go pro. Oh, you weren't good enough? Tough shit. Or should they still get compensated somewhat in college?
Well, because the way you phrased it though is they weren't good enough to go to pro. Now you're going to college. Now you're definitely not going to get paid. I think there's more defense in that. I think why I fucking was yelling at Bryce yesterday is they have to go to college. So should they get paid because they're forced to go to college? That's different than them saying you weren't good enough to go pro. Take your ass to Duke.
Well, to be honest with you, they're not forced to go to college now.
Yeah,
they could go play overseas wherever they want. Brandon Jennings did that. Terrence Ferguson did that. You could go play overseas right now,
but you're not,
and make money.
But you're not going to over Duke. And one of the reasons
that's their choice.
It is, but it's also the only option if you want to make money.
Going overseas, yes.
No, Duke. You're telling me
people that have gone overseas have been. Terrence Ferguson was drafted in the lottery after playing in Australia.
I'm not saying he wouldn't be, but you're telling me that as dominant as he's been, and that how big of a brand his name is now through Duke, he would have had the exact same thing overseas. A lot less American eyes on him, a lot less endorsements from America. That he would have made the same.
Well, technically, he shouldn't have any endorsements now.
Duke is sponsored by Nike. He is guaranteed an endorsement as soon as he steps a foot out of Duke.
So
the branding that you get especially going to a Duke, a UNC, Kansas, Kentucky, U of A back in the day.
I feel like we're debating you like on your own stance, and TJ, I don't agree with your stance.
Yeah, I'm just I'm
Like
a little.
you're like
He would still be touted as the next LeBron had he just took off overseas or nobody
for someone
watched him.
For someone that
came
big,
back.
I think so. I think Zion was that big of an internet sensation in high school that I have to fucking see LaMelo Ball highlights playing in Czechoslovakia every time I turn ESPN on, and he's half.
I think he was in
the,
Lithuania.
whatever Lithuania. He's half the player that fucking
Lost all those fans.
He's half the player that Zion is.
True. So okay.
He's no.
So,
but that's the risk you take.
That is just
you get less exposure. You get less exposed. So that's the option. Less exposure, dollars in your bank account. More exposure, no dollars in your bank account.
No dollars, and then potential of making more than coming from the.
See, you think if Zion went and played in China, he wouldn't be the number one pick? I disagree with that 100%.
Because now you got to look also at their competition, and what if he also is under the curve now that he's playing 2-foot Chinese kids instead of actually great college ball players?
7'5", you bite your tongue.
Yeah.
Okay, 175 guy and 10 other 2-foot people.
Regardless, so the problem, what we've seen all the time, like it doesn't. College is great, yeah, but like the combine is where they decide all their shit. We see people like just do incredible in the combine and they just go higher up than they should.
And then they're doo-doo.
Okay, then he could have gone and played in Spain. Doncic went third.
Doncic didn't have a choice.
Yes, he did. He could have played college here, but he was already playing professionally over there.
But
anybody overseas,
but he wasn't
going
to.
here.
He was like, how old when he played pro? Because he wasn't going to leave to go to college, and then he was already a pro by then.
I get that, but like Markkanen, he could have played professionally in Finland for a year. Instead, he came to the U of A.
And would he have benefited any more had he played overseas instead of doing what he did?
Not necessarily for him, but that's because he was not the internet sensation already.
Exactly.
That Zion was.
So
Zion's a different animal.
Because a lot of what you're saying is specifically to Zion. Now, when you get to the broader, not just paying Zion, but all these other guys who are talented, but they're not probably a lottery pick, going to college is a lot better branding and a lot more exposure, and they will benefit way more than going overseas.
Agree, but do you think they should get paid if they go to college?
No.
I feel like we're like debating you.
I am so lost, man.
So I get what you're saying, but like you don't want them to get paid to go to college, and you think the branding is better. So you're still saying just that college is the best option, even if you don't get paid.
Yeah,
that's what you're saying. That's fair. I think the NCAA though might say, just like they can now, which is if you want to get paid, go. You don't have to play in college.
Right.
It's not like. So the NCAAs, they could still have the stance, especially then.
Well, that's
because now the argument is, well, we don't want to leave the country. I mean, we're Americans. We grew up here. I don't want to leave the country to get paid. As soon as it gets switched to where, well, you can go pro, and I'm not saying I agree with this, but the NCAA stance is going to be, well, now you can play professionally here in the country you're from and get paid. But if you're not good enough, sorry. Like if you want to go play in college, you're going to get your rent and board covered, but we're not paying you. Right. And that's going to be the NCAA stance, right or wrong. That's what it's going to be.
If going overseas was such a viable option, and I agree, it does. I don't know the ins and outs of their leagues. I think more people would have done it than what we've seen.
Well, I think it's the fact that 18-year-old kids don't want to leave the country that they were born in. And a lot of these kids grow up in places where they probably haven't traveled much at all, let alone to another country.
Then suck it up for 1 year where you get all the free Nikes and clothing and room and board. Look me in the eye and tell me Zion's paying room and board, food, clothing, travel. That was a nice free jump shoot he was in at Virginia Tech watching his team lose. I don't know if they lost or not, but I guarantee you he didn't pay anything for that.
Well, yeah, he's getting all that stuff for free.
In his case, his exact case, what if he did get paid 150 G's and then he got injured and was like, oh shit, I don't want to risk. Now the school is stuck either paying him again. You can make contracts. Now the school is stuck paying for this guy for half the season. He's never going to play again for them ever, and they're out 150 G's.
Well, if they get Zion for 150 G's,
going to pay for it.
Zion made them more than 150 G's, but I'll digress. But regardless,
You say that, but they're not the ones that are going to pay him that.
fair.
It's going to be us lowly students.
I don't
I
necessarily.
would have fucking tried to murder Nick Johnson if my tuition got
You wanted to
increased.
murder him because he cut you in line for a sandwich one time.
He did. But I would have probably tried to murder him if our tuition was increased just so he could play one fucking year.
So fair.
And he did.
That's happening. You just don't know it.
So fair.
That's the thing.
What's going to happen even more egregiously if they have to pay him?
I think TJ are on the same stance as, well, at least on some level. I don't think there should necessarily be like a paycheck. Like there shouldn't be a salary for college players.
They should be compensated? They are.
No, I'm not saying that. But Zion should be able to, if they, like, let's say that the week they play North Carolina and the game's on a Thursday, and that's like their rivalry week, so you have one game, you have the weekend off. Zion should be able to go on Saturday and like call up Just Sports and say, hey, Just Sports, if you give me $5,000, I'll come in there and sign autographs for 2 hours. He should be able to go do that.
Why?
Because it's his brand. He is his own brand. Right now, he would not be allowed to do that.
Again, and I'm harping too much on the specific case of Zion at Duke, but if he was some like Hawaii University,
And
with
if someone
his brand
wanted his
being
autograph,
equal,
I mean,
he can give him his autograph.
fair.
Why does he have to be a douche and ask for money?
So fair, but like professional athletes or whatever, they pay for the autographs. If there's a random kid in Hawaii and he calls up Just Sports and he's like, hey, Just Sports, will you give me $5,000? I'll come sign an autograph for 2 hours. I'd be like, fuck no. No one's going to come in here for that. But you know what I mean? But like, TJ McConnell could maybe have made $500 and people would have gone and got autographs. The biggest thing is, like, it's all what they drive. It's not like there has to be a set amount. Like,
for example, because TJ McConnell is one of millions of kids who have benefited from playing all those years.
I get that, but he also could have benefited from signing a few autographs at $20 a piece and making a little extra walking around money.
Hopefully,
I
he
think Bill's
saves
stance
all
there
those-
would be his benefit for playing sans all the autograph sessions that he could potentially have done far outweighed what he would have made in those autograph sessions.
all those Nikes, all those duffel bags, all
I get
those
that, but
sweats,
he'll still
and
Outside of the material thing, it set him up to get into the
food,
NBA.
room and board,
fair, but why can't they have both?
an education.
Because your big concern is that
Because
they're going to start paying them and your tuition is going to go up. McConnell
It
signing
is.
autographs at Just Sports is going to make your tuition go up. He's making that money sans
Off
the
of me
university.
you are correct. They are making money off of me, regardless if he does autograph session or not. More so if they have to pay.
I know, but like all I'm saying is, if Zion right now Zion can't sign an autograph for money, why can't he be allowed to do that? That's not going to raise your tuition. Duke doesn't have to pay. Duke's not paying Just Sports to then have Just Sports pay Zion.
So you're arguing for his
He should control his own likeness.
own likeness.
Which is if Zion goes out and he's like, I'm going to set up a booth at fucking Reed Park and just $50 an autograph. If you don't want it, don't pay me $50. If you want it because you know it's going to be worth fucking $500 next year when I'm drafted number 1 and win Rookie of the Year, come give me $50.
My only
I'd be the first in line to get
only
12
thing.
because the price is going to double immediately when he's drafted number 1.
Well, you can go to practice and get it for free, but okay.
Or then he can just refuse to sign. A lot of
He
people
has
do that.
every right to do that.
Exactly. So
Well,
then the only way to get it is to pay.
No. The only thing I would say to that, as to why, and again, I'm not saying they're fucking slaves. They don't own themselves. Okay, I didn't even say that because he was black. You're the one that looked at me because of that. I'm just, all of them, white or not, they have a player named White, is just because you say that they're their own brand, but their brand is being built, especially his, off of Duke.
Zion's brand was built before he went to Duke. I couldn't watch one top 10 thing without a fucking Zion random gym dunk in it.
But now that he's doing that at Duke, I would say it raises his pedigree and he solidified himself more so as a better player.
But Duke's not getting the raw end of the deal. They're selling out the stadium for $2,000 a ticket because he's playing there.
I would argue
He's
do
helping
that
them. He's
anyway.
helping them pay for their girls' sand volleyball team.
I would argue that happens anyway at Duke, but if you want to give him all the praise, sure.
Probably it happens like that at Duke, but
It does. There's no probably.
okay.
It does.
Okay, fair. But so why can't he make money on his own totally with Duke not involved at all?
Because everything he does is ingrained with Duke.
So signing autographs is just gonna like hurt their
It's not.
ethical code?
It's well, yes, because it's not allowed. But
Well, that's what we're debating, making it allowed.
his whole brand, and he is a package with Duke right now, and he knew this going in. If he wanted to fucking sign autographs, go overseas. But right now, his brand is being made, and I would also say elevated, by being with Duke. So if he has to give up all those fucking millions for 1 year to make more millions while never having to pay for a thing the whole time, I say it works just as fine as it is right now.
What do you think?
Okay, so all right, so I'm trying to decide where I should start. So
You're wrong.
bare blanket answer. I do not think collegiate players should get paid.
Really? I thought you would have done.
No, you just kind of teeter-totter on your own stance, and it's confusing. So
They shouldn't get paid
okay,
Yeah, but you were like
At the
defending going to college.
yeah, it was weird. It was a weird. You were
Because
phrasing your
it's
argument
better
very
for them.
strangely.
You were like backwards.
It's
I agree
better
with
for
you.
them.
I agree
They're
with
going to
you.
make more money going to college later
So,
in the long run.
That's,
It's the long game.
relative to
It's
the player.
the long game.
Relative to the player.
And we're talking about the person who's relatively going to get the biggest amount because he also himself, as well as fucking dominating at Duke,
Yeah,
playing at the highest possible collegiate level.
Zion would have got number one no matter where he played.
But now he has more leverage to make more money after being signed number one. You're saying he would have gotten
Right,
paid.
but
You were saying he would have gotten paid the exact same amount coming straight out of high school, as opposed to how dominant he was playing in
Yeah,
college.
because it's kind of like the NFL draft, where depending on where you're drafted is the money you get. Not really like the number one pick is going to make $80 million a year, and the number two pick makes $5 million.
But the number two pick is based on the number one. Was there a cap
get
for?
that, but
Is there
the-
a cap for number one? I know NFL.
There's a salary cap in the NBA in general, so I don't know.
But there's no cap for a rookie.
I'm
draft.
sure there is on picks. I just don't know what it is.
Because if there wasn't, then I would argue he's going to get more now than he would have gone straight from high school. Because he has now solidified himself more, playing as he did in high school against college kids, making them look like 2-foot high school kids.
Okay, so before we get sidetracked all the time, let me get through my answer.
You get sidetracked.
So
You're editing
wrong,
this. You're editing this, so
You literally interject every time.
you interject.
I feel very passionate about this topic.
So,
It's
a fun topic.
Should have just said Bill and Bryce do this again. You and I should take this segment off.
He looked good in those free sweats sitting again at the Virginia Tech game.
All right, enough with the free sweats. Though I
Free play,
I agree with your stance on that.
Hotel stay.
So
Food.
So that's I kind of touched on this point a little bit earlier when I was talking about the increase in one and dones now. The initial attraction or the first reason anybody goes to college, whether they're an athlete or just a student, is you're investing in your future. You're going there.
I like that. That's exactly what I was trying to say. For 10 minutes, you said 1 minute.
1 minute.
Yeah.
4
Well,
seconds.
you may have got tens of thousands of my dollars to teach me how to do that. So he's investing in his future. So for that reason, it's designed to give you free room and board, free food, the free apparel and all that shit.
Well, if they care about you, not us.
Right. Well, exactly.
If they care about you.
In their case, because they know they're also going to benefit from him being there. They're going to get ticket sales
way more than
and
what
all
they're
that shit.
covering.
Potentially. But you also, again, it's an investment into your future. He is going there. Well, I'm not in his head. I don't know all his intentions, if it was because he wants to be at Duke or if he just wants to build his brand or whatever. Regardless, he's doing both. So he went there. That's fine. I don't think he gets, he should get paid. In large part, I disagree with your stance on the fact that he should be able to go out and sign autographs and get paid or whatever. For a couple of stipulations. One, he would have to do it outside of the school, so he can't sign any school apparel or and his Duke stuff or anything like that because it's attached to the school, and the school's not allowing him to do that as the rules currently sit.
Even if the
He
kid
also
took him Duke stuff?
This is where I just largely as a blanket rule would say no, because I think you would run into a lot of problems, legally especially. Two, he has the option not to do that. He has the option to forego college and go pro somewhere else. That's fine. Yeah, I fully support his decision to do that, but he has to understand that he has to do the pros and cons, weigh what benefits he's going to get out of each one. So I agree with you long term, it's better for him to stay local meaning the States, go to a bigger college, that wants him, because basically he could have picked anywhere. Everybody wanted him. So he goes to a school with basically every intention to be a one and done, to satisfy the age requirement, get the exposure, build himself as like, look, I'm the next potential LeBron, or at least I have the physical attributes to be him. The next, just dominant basketball player of our generation. So he's gonna lock down an endorsement deal. Probably not with Nike since he blew out the shoe, but potentially a Nike, an Adidas, a Puma, whatever. Somebody that's gonna pay him fucking retarded money, on top of his NBA contract money that he's gonna make from probably being the number 1 overall pick. Which I agree with you, he probably would have done so anyway. At the very least, he probably still would have gone top 3, even if he had just sat and just said, you know what, I'm not playing anywhere. I'm just gonna prepare for the draft. Once I hit 19, I'm declaring. And I'm not gonna play anywhere.
I give you that.
So, because he had such exposure from the internet. The internet just blew up seeing this kid in high school that was 6, I don't know what he was in high school, if he was already 6'8", but at the very least, he's 6'5 plus, just fucking shoving his nuts in everybody's face, just on a nightly basis. So, I don't think he should get paid. I don't think college players as a just blanket rule should be paid, because you're there to invest in your future, whether that be athletically or you're there, for the few guys who do, typically it's like offensive linemen, in the NFL, or like the guys who never play, but they're still there on a scholarship. They're just there to get a free degree. Set yourself up. Get something that's going to set you up for your post-athletic career. And some of these guys will make more than enough money in their athletic career to fucking never have to work a day in their life. All these guys, especially in like baseball and shit, are getting hundreds of million. If you piss that away, you're a fucking idiot. You deserve to be homeless or bankrupt or whatever. Like, you're stupid. So,
Harsh but true.
It is harsh, but it is true. So, that's my general stance on this whole thing.
Story of my life. I say one thing, no one listens. Somebody else says it, and they're like, "Oh, you're a guy, yeah. Listen to him."
I never said that.
No, then go.
Do you have a rebuttal?
Counterpoint.
I just don't understand why you guys don't think they should be able to just sign autographs for money if they want to.
Because the option's already there for them to forego that.
You know what? I will give you that if you just say they shouldn't be paid.
Okay,
see, you want to do it?
There's two sides. There's two sides of the coin here. The first one is, so right now there's no option essentially to play in the United States of America professionally at 18 to make money.
Right.
So until that is an option, it's always going to be.
Well, I don't know if there's an age thing on the G League, but at the very least, at the highest professional level, no, there's not.
So yeah, and the G League gets worse reviews. Zion would have got less fucking publicity in the G League than he would if he just played in Asia.
Right. And Duke paid him more than the G League would have paid him.
Probably.
Duke probably did pay him more than the Duke would have paid him.
But
there's no doubt. Duke paid him.
But I don't see the issue why Zion, fair, maybe he can't sign Duke apparel.
Right.
But if someone had just like a blank picture of Zion that they wanted him to sign,
creepy,
he should be able to sign that. It's not like it's fucking a nude or something.
Is that what's that? This dick pic?
Like if they just have a basketball,
it's yours.
and they want Zion to sign a basketball,
Hack your iCloud.
Basketball.
He should be able to make money off of signing. If people want to pay for his autograph, he should be able to do that. That doesn't hurt Duke in any way. Literally doesn't hurt them at all.
It could hurt them because I'm sure they do signing days where they have the players out there. They invite families, they invite kids. So if he's out there just giving away his autograph, that will hurt them. Again, it does sound greedy because they're just missing out on probably fucking couple $100. But it would hurt them if he was just giving his autograph willy-nilly instead of people having to come to their practices and get his autograph there.
Well, he's not. He would do it. You would also have to pay to get his autograph.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. They're going to pay him instead of either. I guess they wouldn't pay the school, but they are still visiting the school. It is still a school-hosted event.
Yeah, but maybe
it's like a dinner thing, and they pay for it, and I don't know.
Okay, but maybe it's a school-hosted event. And
maybe it's like a booster thing.
That's the only place you can get him to sign Duke apparel.
Or just anything.
Well, he should be able to sign anything on his own.
He can, just can't get paid.
He should be able to get paid for that.
I don't think so.
He enters into a consensual agreement, understanding the terms of that agreement when he signs for the play for the school.
Exactly.
If he doesn't like that,
it is not.
That's his own problem.
Not indenture servitude. He has.
So I get that you guys are pulling out he has this is the bylaws and he has to appear by those bylaws. We're saying that the bylaws be changed, not should he adhere to the ones he's already agreed to adhere to.
Okay, so no, my easy answer to that is no.
Yeah. I
think they should stay as they are.
Here's my thing as a whole. Is life going to be, or okay.
Other than the draft one. I think
we don't say life because that's
real quick on one thing, because you gave me a funny look when he mentioned that Duke was going to benefit from Zion after covering all his shit. And I was like, greatly benefit. And then he gave me a look like, maybe. Duke in 2016 made over $31 million in profit in basketball. They are not paying, even if Zion cost them $1 million, he is making them a lot more money than that. Now, you may say, fair enough, that Duke, even after Zion leaves, Duke is going to be Duke. But eventually...
What I was also saying is Duke was Duke before Zion.
True. But if the recruits stop coming, Duke will not be Duke much longer.
Agreed.
We've seen that
But the only reason why Duke... Yeah. But the only reason why...
Short term, but yes.
But why would Duke stop getting recruits? Barring any controversy, barring really anything of them breaking a law or an NCAA rule, why would Duke ever not get top 5 players all the time?
Exactly. So they're going to keep getting... Again, I don't think he should be paid out of this $31 million.
Oh, he won't. He'll get paid from us, the students. That's a whole separate thing of why I don't think they're gay, because they're not going to pull the money out. I agree. He's making a lot of money.
The other sports shit with the money, with the profit they're making here. That's how it goes. The football and the basketball teams normally make the most money, and they use the profits to pay for the other stuff. Unless you're like a high tier baseball, softball, where they might make a little bit, but like UVA baseball probably breaks even at the best.
Well, that's how these schools have fucking diving teams.
Like Alabama's football basically pays for every other sports program that they have.
Yes.
Regardless, I'm not saying he should get paid from the school or a salary or from tuition. Like, I'm not saying every 2 weeks Zion gets his bi-weekly paycheck, but he should be able to make money off of his own name.
So long as he can own his own likeness, you would still agree he shouldn't get paid.
I don't necessarily agree that he should get paid from Duke, like a paycheck. But if he can control his own likeness, which means that he can, anything with his name on it, he gets royalties from. So Duke can't sell jerseys with Zion or with Williamson on the back or with his number on it, because they're going to try to pull that thing that NCAA football always did. We're like, oh, it's number 8. We all fucking knew it was Nick Foles. Like, just put his fucking name on there. Like, you can't make his likeness includes his name and his number while he's there. So if Duke is selling jerseys with his name or number on it, he gets some of that money. Or they can just sell what U of A does now, is they sell Arizona jerseys. The number is the current year. So this year they sell Arizona 19 jerseys, because there isn't a player on the team who's number 19. If they ever get to a point where the year is a player, they just add a year on. Or they do the next year that there's not a player. And so if they're selling...
Is that what they really do?
Yes. That's why there were so many Arizona 18 jerseys last year.
That's weird.
So like Duke, I don't know what number Zion even wears.
It was like 5 or 6, I think.
So if they're selling jerseys with his number on it, he should get a percentage of those sales. If they're selling with fucking 69 on it, no sales for unless there's a kid that wears 69 as a walk-on.
And that kid should get a full ride.
Probably already is.
Hey! All right.
Wow.
Which one is it?
God, that's awful. You still
but
tried it.
If his name's on it, or if he's signing it, he should be able to make money and control his own likeness, which is his name and number.
I would still go back to, with his likeness, name and number, a nice big Duke on the front. He's being helped by also their brand. I get that you're saying he has his own brand, but he is getting help off of Duke's brand as well.
Fair, but the point I would give you is this: if Arizona, like I don't own an Arizona Wildcats basketball jersey. And I'll be honest, TJ McConnell is my favorite U of A Wildcat since I've been religiously going to the games. If they made a specific TJ McConnell U of A basketball jersey, I would buy that. But I don't own a generic U of A basketball jersey with no name on it and a just random number of the year. Zion, if you did that and you had an RJ Barrett jersey and a Zion jersey, the Zion jersey would sell the most.
Yeah.
So I think if his name's on it, he should get a percentage. I think more people would buy jerseys if it was this is a Zion jersey. Just like you would rather buy a Todd Gurley jersey than just a generic Rams jersey.